We have this session on smarter offers during this holiday season. And we have Jared Dimond from Honey and Vivek Kumar from UrbanStems. Jared's going to kick off with the presentation, and then we'll bring in Vivek on camera for a conversation. So with that, Jared, thanks for joining us, and the virtual floor is yours.
Awesome. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, just waiting on those slides. Okay, awesome. Hey everyone, I'm Jared. I'm a senior partnerships manager at Honey, and I'm super excited to be here to talk to you about investing in smarter customer engagement this holiday season. I first want to say thank you to Scott and everyone at Commerce Next for hosting this event, and also thank you to all of you for tuning in. You know, it's not a secret that this holiday season is going to be highly unique. COVID-19 has drastically changed the ways in which people shop, and in turn, it's changed the ways in which brands need to reach, engage, and incentivize consumers. And so what I want to focus on today is I want to focus on what are some of the key trends that Honey has seen as a result of COVID-19. And how I'll frame that is I'll first go over what have we seen historically with the holiday shopping season. Then we'll go into what are some of those changes in user behaviors as a result of the pandemic, and how do we expect those user behaviors to persist into the remainder of Q4, as well as going into next year. And then lastly, I'll touch on how loyalty and reward strategies can be a massively efficient way to drive sales this year. But first, what have we seen historically? Well, we all know the importance of the holiday season for the retail industry. If we take a look at Honey user data, specifically looking at Black Friday through the weekend that immediately followed last year, we saw that purchases among Honey shoppers grew by 18% year over year. And the number of shoppers who redeemed Honey Gold, our points-based loyalty system, which I'll get into later, it increased by 138% year over year. And if we look at the last 5 years of Honey data, what has Honey seen when it comes to online spend? We see that during the holidays, year after year, that spend goes up. And a lot of that has been due to brands spreading out promotions over more days. You know, online, it wasn't just Black Friday. It wasn't even just Cyber Monday. A lot of brands over the past few years have been spreading those promotions out, which is going to be an important strategy that a lot of brands need to look at this year. But it's not just Honey that's seen this. In fact, I'm sure a lot of you have seen this trend in online e-commerce spend going up year after year. Scott Rankin, principal at retail strategy group KPMG, is quoted saying, "I think it's accurate to say that online sales now account for as much as 40% of Black Friday sales." 40%, it's almost half. And that was before the pandemic. So what's changed? Well, the pandemic has drastically accelerated the shift to online shopping, largely due to lockdown orders, social distancing happening across the world. And unfortunately, a lot of brick and mortar stores are closed today, or if they're open and operating on limited hours or limited capacity. And what we saw in the first 90 days of public closures was a new set of consumer behaviors anchored in digital-only activities. People who had been slow to the e-commerce trend over the past 20 years suddenly kicked it into high gear out of necessity, purchasing groceries, clothing, household goods, all exclusively online. And digital natives, they continued their already established online shopping behaviors. Now, I mentioned earlier that brands have, over the past few years, have started spreading out their promotions over more days, and how it's going to be an important strategy this year. Cleveland Research Group did a study where they found that 40% of holiday shoppers this year are expected to begin their holiday shopping earlier in the year. And 65% of online shoppers are expected to shop immediately after Thanksgiving. Now, while COVID has changed people's spend and a lot of spend has moved online, it's also important to realize that COVID has had a major impact on consumers' financial health. Millions have lost their jobs and millions more are unsure about their financial futures. I mean, Accenture did a study where they found that 64% of consumers are worried about their personal job security today, and 88% are worried about COVID's impact on the economy. With this high level of consumer anxiety, it will be increasingly important for all brands to get promotions and deals in front of consumers as early and as easily as possible. Our partners and industry experts agree that in order to navigate this holiday season and the future of online shopping in general, traditional advertising models alone are not going to cut it. In fact, seasoned ad buyers are hinting at immediate shifts in advertising budgets being reallocated to meet shoppers in more engaging ways, trying to better use those advertising budgets. Jessica Brown at Group N&M is quoted as saying, "The whole pandemic is forcing the changes to happen faster than some clients were comfortable with." And many predict that budgets will shift to performance-based solutions as advertisers now more than ever are worried about making sure that every dollar they spend is working. So what do we do? Well, I briefly touched on how brands have started shifting their promotions over a longer period of time and how consumers are going to do their shopping earlier and that they're looking for more deals. I actually really like that poll that Scott released at the beginning of this. We did a study with Atomic Research Group actually back in August of this year that found that 75% of respondents are seeking out more deals today than they were before the pandemic. 79% said that finding a deal today is more important than it was before the pandemic. Now, a deal can come in multiple different forms, and to be frank, a lot of brands this year are going to have to use a mix of traditional discounting and loyalty strategies. But what I want to discuss is I want to go over, at Honey, we have two main loyalty strategies that have been proven to be highly effective for our partners, even those that don't do traditional discounting. And so we launched Honey Gold back in 2016. It's our loyalty program. And it's a way in which Honey partners can reward our over 20 million global users for purchasing at their store. Honey users earn what we call Honey Gold points for purchasing at participating brands. And these points can then be used for redeeming gift cards or donating to a charity of their choice. And what we've seen is that this system has increased conversion rates for our partners. It's increased average order value, and it's decreased cross-site shopping, which is the user behavior of looking at multiple different stores in one shopping session. Basically, Honey Gold is a added value on top. It's a reward for that Honey user purchasing at your site. On the backbone of Honey Gold, we launched Honey Offers earlier this year. And Honey Offers is basically where we create time-sensitive Honey Gold rewards on individual products to incentivize consumers to activate those offers and complete a purchase. So basically turning a passive shopper into an active buyer. And as of Q4, we present these offers to Honey users across the entire shopping funnels, all the way from discovery to the consideration phase to re-engagement. And the stats speak for themselves. On average, a consumer that activates an offer is over 300% more likely to convert. They're 87% more likely to revisit that store within 7 days, so increasing customer loyalty. And they're 18% less likely to go shop at another store, whether that store be your direct competitor or just another store where today, more than ever, that consumer is asking themselves, where should I spend my money? But let's go over some specific examples. And so this is one with Honey Gold. So that loyalty feature that we launched back in 2016. We worked with a major department store earlier this year. It was during the pandemic. And that department store, they wanted to drive more revenue and they wanted to win market share. So what we did is we turned on Honey Gold with them. What we saw is that upon turning on Honey Gold, their average order value increased by 18%. Their share of orders among Honey shoppers grew by 16% in their vertical. And their average revenue per user, meaning how much each Honey user spends at their site, grew 22%. As for Honey Offers, we ran a campaign again during the pandemic with bodybuilding.com, where we saw that the Honey offers increased their conversion rate by 252%, increased their store revisits by 58%, and reduced their comparison shopping by 9%. Now, I mentioned at the beginning, this is a highly unique holiday season. There's a lot that we do not know, but based off of what we've seen, we can be very confident in that brands cannot rely on typical holiday shopping behavior this year. Shoppers are strapped financially and worried about the economy, and as a result, traditional ad buys alone won't cut it. It won't be enough to get consumers to open up their wallets. Brands should invest in proven performance-based solutions, things like Honey Gold, things like Honey offers. And what we've seen from the past 6 months of campaign data is that these solutions will continue to drive a ton of value for brands going into this holiday season and the year beyond. That's pretty much it. I want to say thank you again for everyone listening in, and I'll give it back to Scott.
All right, thanks, Jared. I want to invite Vivek to turn his camera on and come join the conversation. Vivek, you're the welcome. You're the Chief Revenue Officer at UrbanStems, and can you just introduce yourself, UrbanStems? Talk a little bit about how UrbanStems has been approaching performance marketing, especially during the pandemic, and I know what's unique is that you had your biggest holiday period already in May during Mother's Day.
Yeah, hey, thanks, Scott. Thanks for having me here, and thanks everyone for tuning in. As Scott mentioned, I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at UrbanStems, and in my role here, I lead marketing, merchandising, e-commerce, and technology. So those are the main functional areas that I oversee. Prior to UrbanStems, I've held e-commerce and digital roles at very different types of companies. Noel Brands was my previous company, and before that I had worked at Barnes & Noble and UPS, all in e-commerce roles. To give you guys a little bit of background on UrbanStems, UrbanStems is a digitally native direct-to-consumer startup. Our mission is to really enable human connections, and the way we do this is through our unique floral arrangements and gifts that we sell through our DTC website. We do take great pride in creating a stellar customer experience through our unique modern designs, as well as through the uniqueness of our supply chain, which enables us to deliver fresh florals and gifts either same day or next day. So a really unique business model, different approach than some of the other floral companies in the space. And it's been a great ride. The approach to digital marketing, to answer your question, Scott, that we take is primarily all digital channels, as you would expect. Search, social, both organic as well as paid. Affiliates, Jared was giving a good overview of Honey. Honey, of course, a partner of ours as well. And really, we have also started to put some investment behind more awareness-driving channels, primarily through video, seeing some success there, and really creating a full funnel approach to get customers to our website. COVID has been interesting. As you said, our peak is Mother's Day, and it happened right when COVID was unfolding. Clearly, there was a huge shift in demand online when COVID started, so we are seeing some tailwinds from the macro conditions, and we expect to continue to see those tailwinds as we progress into the traditional holiday season. So that's kind of a little bit of an overview. Happy to go into any further detail on any topic.
One of the things we were talking about leading up to this was how you have been kind of synchronizing campaigns across different channels, social, paid, influencers, as a way to amplify a unified voice. And I'd be interested, I think, our audience would be interested to hear about how that has been working, some of the, reactions that you're seeing from that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is really critical for brands to create a comprehensive marketing strategy that is not siloing your different channels. So the traditional way of approaching digital marketing has been, what am I getting in paid search? What am I getting in paid social? And what we are trying to do here is really create a full funnel approach where all our channels need to work together and have a very consistent messaging. And not just, we don't just stop there. I think all our merchandising strategy, whatever we are doing on the merchandising side, on the website, needs to really align to all the different channels that we are activating. So to me, I think that's a really important way to create a more cohesive customer experience, give customers a really good understanding of what your brand is all about, how your brand and merchandise play with each other. And then, of course, activating them through our performance marketing channels. Don't get me wrong, like performance marketing is super critical. And of course, we focus a lot on driving paid search and paid social. But I think it all needs to be thought through a bigger holistic lens of what exactly is the brand doing, what is a merchandising strategy, and how does all the performance marketing channels come and interplay with both of those things.
So, you talked a little bit about, just overall tailwinds for e-commerce, which, we're hearing a lot of stories about that. Looking ahead at the upcoming holiday season, it seems kind of logical that with so much e-commerce activity going on that, it would have an impact on things like media costs, just the competitiveness, the discounting atmosphere. I mean, we saw in the attendee poll that the most popular answer was people are going to be discounting. Retailers going to be discounting more. I know you don't have a crystal ball, but what are your expectations? What are you planning for in terms of the environment that you'll be operating in terms of performance marketing?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and I think a very relevant question on every marketer's mind. If it is not, it should be, because nobody has a crystal ball, but what we are expecting and planning for is clearly there's going to be increased competition. Like there's going to be a lot of activity, which is a natural trend towards digital and e-commerce. A lot of the companies that weren't prepared during March, April are now better prepared to take advantage of digital channels, which would lead to a much higher level of competition on all the digital media channels. So I think for brands, it is really important to be nimble and flexible and react to some of those trends as they arrive. And what we are trying to do is remain flexible. Like, how do we create flexibility in our business where we can take advantage of certain trends, as well as pull back if we see that there is a lot of competition in the marketplace and some of the CACs are going out of whack. That said, we are also expecting the holiday season to be much more pulled ahead. Like it will probably already begin for some retailers, and it's definitely going to get heated up mid-October. So that's an interesting play as well, where the holiday season is going to get spread out over a larger amount of time. How does that dovetail into the media costs as well as inventory levels and discounting? So again, I think this is a very different holiday season. I've been in e-commerce for a while, and something like this is new to everybody. And I think the key message that I have is really trying to create several different contingencies and plans so that we can react to them.
So we're just about out of time, but I wanted to kind of bring things full circle. Jared was talking about just, being more creative with some approaches to offers. And can you share any, offers that you've been using or you're planning on using that are just, not pure discounts? And, what do you think you can do? Things that will help activate customers, but not necessarily erode into margins.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think what Vijay was saying earlier was very important. I think the best defense to not erode margins is creating a very authentic brand. Like, customers demand authenticity, and as long as your brand is being true to itself, customers understand what you stand for, what your product stands for. I think that's the best defense. And then really creating a strong brand that can really help customers not find the the cheapest product is critical. Now, that said, that's more a long-term strategy. Not every brand can do that. And even at UrbanStems, like I think having a very strategic approach towards discounting, where we are balancing it, as Jared was saying, through just straight discounts, as well as loyalty offers, gift with purchases, having a good bundled strategy to drive up your AOS, but at the same time not erode margins if you are discounting. Cashback offers are a good way to get some of that consumer interest as well. So I think there are multiple tactical offers that the teams and marketers can think about. But in the long run, I think to truly get away from discounting, you need to start focusing on creating a solid brand.
All right. Well, we've run out of time. Thank you again, Vivek, for joining us this afternoon, and Jared for sharing your thoughts as well.